The situation in Niger following the military coup did not improve, but rather became more problematic. The reason for this is the threat from ECOWAS, the Economic Community of West African States, to conduct a military intervention in Niger if power is not returned to constitutional normality. However, we are not delving further into the political situation in Niger. What we will discuss is one of the countries that facilitated the ECOWAS member meeting to take military intervention steps. The country is Nigeria. Before discussing Nigeria, let's first distinguish between Niger and Nigeria. Niger is the country where the military coup just occurred, while Nigeria is a neighboring country located directly south of Niger, and coincidentally, its current president is the chairman of ECOWAS. Both countries are members of ECOWAS. What is the problem here? The problem is that Niger threatens to attack ECOWAS member countries involved in the intervention. The situation becomes more complicated when Russia also responds and warns ECOWAS member countries not to interfere too much. And the Niger junta also requests assistance from Russian mercenaries, the Wagner Group. This means that Nigeria, as the chair of ECOWAS, must be on alert. This threat is serious. To understand how prepared the Nigerian military is, let's discuss a bit about the history of the Nigerian military. The Nigerian Armed Forces were formed in 1960 as a successor to the West African Frontier Force of the British Empire. Their role after formation has been quite significant. They were involved in the Civil War, UN peacekeeping forces, as the backbone of ECOWAS, and played a role in domestic power struggles in 1966 and 1983. Therefore, it can be said that the Nigerian Armed Forces are one of the most influential in the African continent. Therefore, if you are looking for the strongest military in Africa, Nigeria ranks in the top 10. In fact, Nigeria is the fourth strongest military power in Africa. Globally, according to data from Global Firepower, Nigeria ranks 36th out of 145 assessed countries. This is a fairly strong numerical position. What are the standards for Nigeria being called a strong country in Africa? Issues of budget, active troop numbers, military equipment, and readiness. Let's discuss these one by one. First, regarding its military budget. Nigeria has been continuously increasing its defense spending over the past few years. This is evident from its budget graph. Up until 2021, the budget continued to rise, reaching $4.47 billion. The reason is to address the security issues in Nigeria. However, the value then decreased by 38% in 2022 to $3.1 billion. Even though there was a decrease, if we speak in the context of Africa, Nigeria is only surpassed by Algeria in terms of military budget. Now the question is this amount considered large for Nigeria? The answer is no. If we refer to Nigeria's GDP, the military budget in 2021, which was the largest compared to the years before and after, did not even reach 1% of its GDP. In terms of personnel, the numbers are also relatively small for a country like Nigeria, which has a population of about 213 million people. The total is 215,000 personnel, consisting of 135,000 active personnel, no reserve personnel, and only 80,000 paramilitaries. This also does not reach 1% of Nigeria's population. Nevertheless, Nigeria is actually categorized as a country vulnerable to military attacks. However, military experts assess that the reduction in military personnel numbers is due to the Nigerian government's fear of a third military coup. As mentioned earlier, Nigeria has already experienced 2 military coups, and the military has always been successful in seizing power. Returning to the issue of Nigeria's military strength, the aforementioned figures are indeed sufficient to contain the Nigerian military junta, which has only about 25,000 active personnel. In any aspect, Niger is significantly outmatched by Nigeria, at least on paper. However, the situation becomes more complex with Russia's declaration to intervene if Nigeria and other ECOWAS members interfere. There is a high possibility of a proxy war, as the United States and NATO have also stated their readiness to assist ECOWAS and are prepared to intervene militarily to stabilize Niger from the military junta. Now, how prepared is Nigeria's military strength? To answer this, let's delve deeper into Nigeria's military capabilities, including its equipment. Starting with the army, it has about 80,000 personnel, which is quite small. Nigeria does not have main battle tanks, only light tanks like the British-made FV-101 Scorpion, purchased around 1983, with about 150 units in operation for the Nigerian army. The infantry fighting vehicles of the Nigerian army are the Soviet-made BMP-1 and BMP-2. Yes, it can be said that the armored vehicles Nigeria possesses are mostly from the Cold War era. There is no reliable air defense system. Most of them are Soviet era, not modern, and this is also true for the anti-tank weapons Nigeria has. Historically speaking, the rapid expansion of the Nigerian army after the Civil War led to a significant decline in the quality of troops and equipment. In terms of the Air Force, it is also small, with only 18,000 personnel. There is no particularly proud history. During its formation phase, the Nigerian Air Force was highly doubted. The Parliament preferred to rely on British support for air defense. Despite this, the Nigerian Air Force is still considered one of the largest in Africa. Nigeria's aircraft inventory includes the relatively new JF Thunder, a joint production between China and Pakistan. Additionally, they have the light attack aircraft Super Tucano, made by Brazil, which is also quite modern. An older component of their fleet is the Chengdu J-7 fighter jet, a Chinese model from the 1960s. Nigeria is also starting to initiate a drone program, which plays a vital role in modern warfare. Overall, this small air force is sufficient to defend Nigeria's borders against threats from neighboring countries and to combat insurgents. The Nigerian Air Force has also begun developing domestically produced rockets. Furthermore, it's notable that the Nigerian Air Force is the only division with a Special Forces unit. Similarly, the Nigerian Navy, though small, can be considered to have one of the best and most specialized combat units. The Navy is often compared to the Special Boat Service of the British Royal Navy. With about 25,000 personnel, it has the largest naval force in Africa. The challenge faced by the Nigerian Navy is the absence of submarines. They have only a few large ships comparable to frigates, which are adequate for protecting Nigeria's territorial waters from potential threats. However, this fleet would likely be insufficient against a modern navy equipped with submarines or missile-equipped ships. Nigeria's investment in sophisticated weaponry, including the JF-17 Thunder fighter jet, Mi-35M Hind attack helicopter Vermont, 4 main battle tank A-29 Super Tucano aircraft, Palmaria 155mm self-propelled artillery, NNS Aradu, Mako 360 frigate, and the initiation of investment in rocket launcher systems reflects the country's commitment to strengthening its defense capabilities. A key aspect of these programs is enabling Nigeria to enhance its domestic defense industry and develop indigenous capabilities. The goal is to foster independence and reduce reliance on foreign military equipment suppliers, which have traditionally been oriented towards the West. However, the primary issue for Nigeria is not the sophistication or toughness of its military equipment. The stagnation in the effectiveness of Nigeria's military hardware is more due to a shortage of technicians and very poor maintenance standards. Beyond this, the Nigerian military faces several significant problems. These include corruption within the Defense Ministry, policy misdirection, a lack of adequate training for modernization purposes, and indiscipline. Overall, for nearly 3 decades following independence, Nigeria was de facto a military dictatorship and a country fearful of an increasingly powerful military. Discontent with economic inequality, corruption, and the overly centralized structure of the Nigerian state has backfired over the decades. The problem is that military governments have always covered up these issues. The military also took on too many responsibilities in the daily lives of its citizens.